If you want to build muscle, that's what you're focused on. That's what triggers hypertrophic adaptations. You've got a solid program in place, you're lifting with proper form and technique, and you're What's up guys, Sean Nalawani, RealScienceAthletics.com, and in today's video we're talking about the very unfortunate subject of someone who is legitimately training hard in the gym, but they're not seeing any significant muscle building results from their efforts, and maybe that describes you right now. You know, it's one thing to not make any gains off of the work that you didn't put in, but there's nothing worse than actually putting in the work, and then after several months of consistent lifting, it looks like you've been training for marathon running as opposed to muscle growth. Now, I've talked quite a bit in my latest videos about the subject of effort level in the gym and how the basic fact that you train hard, how that is the underlying stimulus for muscle growth, and the fact that most people out there just don't train hard enough when it all comes down to it. But again, what happens when you really are pushing yourself outside your comfort zone during your workouts? You're leaving the gym feeling beat up and like you really gave a solid effort, but the gains just aren't happening. Now, before I explain this further, if you're new here and you're looking for straight ahead, no BS fitness information without all the hype and gimmicks, then make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to stay in the loop on all of my future videos. So there are a wide variety of reasons why this scenario could be happening. You know, maybe you're just following a really bad program in the first place in terms of the actual layout. There are tons of highly suboptimal programs floating around out there online nowadays. I actually recently purchased one from a very well-known bodybuilding YouTuber, and I was almost on the verge of tears while reading through it because of just how off the charts, horrifically bad it was, and just thinking about all the people out there who are actually going to go ahead and perform a 40-set arm workout with 20 reps for every single set with almost no rest in between sets, thinking that this is a good way to build muscle. And I'll probably do a review on that program at some point. But aside from bad programming, there's also the whole nutritional side of things as well. And if that's not reasonably on point, then that's obviously going to negatively impact your results as well. But the reason that I want to talk about here today, another really common one, something I see all the time in the gym, and that is for the trainees out there who confuse fatigue or exhaustion with muscular overload. Okay, those are two different things. And if you're focused on the wrong one, which a lot of people out there are, then no exaggeration, you legitimately will be killing your gains. So you might be doing what a very high percentage of people do, which is going into the gym with no real set plan, just kind of gravitating toward whatever exercises feel like a good idea on that particular day. And the main intention that you have in your mind is to just get in a good workout, you know, to achieve that overall feeling that you're working hard. And then assuming that if you just do that and you perform enough sets and you do enough exercises over the course of maybe an hour or so, muscle growth will automatically follow. So you're mainly paying attention to things like getting a pump, the amount of muscle burn that you feel during your sets, and just how you feel on an overall systemic level. So how tired you're getting, the fact that your heart rate is up, the fact that you're sweating, maybe your cardiovascular system feels a bit taxed, you're mentally fatigued, you're sore in the days after your workout. Okay, in reality, none of those things, none of them are actually direct indicators of a successful muscle building workout. Now, I'm not saying they're bad, but they don't necessarily signify that you successfully stimulated muscle growth. Obviously, any form of exercise is good for you, okay? Even a workout that only modestly stimulates muscle growth is of course gonna be far better than sitting around all day in your sweatpants, eating tacos and watching Pornhub. And if you're generally training with reasonable overall effort, then you are gonna get certain beneficial adaptations from that. You know, you'll probably gain some muscle from that, at least in the initial stages. But from a pure hypertrophic standpoint, if you're beyond the first few months of training and your goal is to maximize muscle growth, those are the wrong metrics to pay attention to. Fatigue does not equal hypertrophy. I don't care how you feel on an overall systemic level, okay? What truly matters is what's happening at the localized level of the specific muscle tissue that you're trying to stimulate, and the fact that you're overloading that tissue by pushing it close enough to its maximum strength capacity to create new growth adaptations, and that you're doing that over a sufficient number of total sets. In other words, it ultimately comes down to making sure that you're training close enough to muscular failure on a consistent basis. That is what stimulates muscle growth, regardless of anything else. And what is muscular failure? For those of you who are still beginners, it's basically just the point in the set where you can't do any more reps in proper form regardless of how much effort you exert. Now, there is a certain subjective component involved in this. because it's going to depend on what exactly somebody means by proper form in the first place and just how much leeway they're giving. Some people consider a bit more form deviation to be acceptable, whereas for others, even if their form deviates by the slightest margin or they lose the mind-muscle connection by a few percent, then they're going to consider that to be failure.
Good. Good. All the way to failure. There we go, all the way to failure. That's my failure.
I personally don't agree with going to that type of extreme. I think as long as your form generally looks the same on each rep and you're not at any sort of injury risk, then a slight bit of deviation is usually going to be fine for most lifts. But just in the general, broader sense, that's what muscular failure is, okay? It's when you can't do another rep in proper form despite your best effort. So probably somewhere around 3 to 4 reps shy of failure is where you're going to start getting a measurable growth response in most cases. You can definitely still make gains training at that level if you're doing a greater amount of overall volume to compensate, but in any case, it's definitely going to be far from optimal if you're never going beyond that point. More like 1 to 2 reps short of failure, that's going to be a good sweet spot to base the majority of your training around in the overall picture. At that level, you'll be getting a strong growth stimulus, but without creating excessive fatigue, and then from there, you can throw in some all-out failure sets here and there as well. And a very important thing to keep in mind here is that it's perfectly possible to experience all of those things we talked about previously, okay? Muscle pump, muscle burn, systemic fatigue, cardiovascular stress, sweating, soreness, even psychological fatigue as well. You can have all of that and still not be training anywhere near muscular failure, and as a result, not gaining any significant muscle from it on a consistent long-term basis. You can do a very high volume of sets with 8 reps in reserve, and especially if you're training using higher rep ranges, you can get in a great workout and still stimulate very little actual muscle growth from it. Even though it is stressing your body and you subjectively feel like you're training hard, the adaptations that are going to be occurring from that are not going to be primarily hypertrophic. It's not going to be your body increasing its muscle mass and strength. What you're going to get from that are endurance/conditioning related adaptations that improve your body's ability to perform that specific type of work. Okay, the type of stress that you place on your body determines the type of adaptations that you're going to make to that stress, quite obviously. And all it takes is just some basic logic to see that those factors can't be direct indicators for growth, because you can create them by doing ridiculous things that obviously wouldn't be very effective for gaining muscle. If more muscle pump/muscle burn equals more muscle growth, then technically you'd never need to lift a weight in your entire life. Just grab a flimsy resistance band and train each muscle with thousands of reps on end. The pump and burn that you're going to get from that would be completely insane. It'll be far beyond anything that you'll get from doing standard hypertrophy sets in the 6 to 12 range in the gym using regular free weights. You could even sit there right now and just flex a muscle repeatedly as hard as you possibly can, and you're going to get a similar effect. Or forget barbell squats and leg presses, just get up out of your chair right now and do a bunch of air squats and jumping jacks for the next 30 minutes straight, and your legs will be on fire from that. You'll be tired, sweaty, pumped, you'll be sore as hell the next day, but I think anybody with any lifting experience at all knows that that's not going to produce significant long-term muscle growth, at least not for anybody who isn't a complete and total beginner. Even just speaking personally, I've been doing a lot of filming in the gym recently because I'm going to start uploading some lifting tutorials on the channel here. That's actually the reason why my uploads haven't been as frequent lately, because I've been hard at work kind of behind the scenes getting that all organized. But I'll go in with my videographer and we'll shoot for 3 or 4 hours straight, where I'm doing 12 different exercises filmed from 5 different angles each, and I'm lifting really light weight. I'm probably 10 reps from failure on most clips, but just from that constant repetitive movement over and over again, shooting, reshooting for hours on end, my muscles are burning, they're pumped up, and I actually get more muscle soreness from doing that than I do from my actual muscle building workouts. Now, again, there's absolutely nothing wrong with muscle pump or muscle burn, soreness, overall fatigue, etc. Those are natural byproducts of any form of reasonably intense resistance training. And of course, those things are going to occur when you do your workouts. But the way this works is that effective muscle building training will naturally produce those things, but it doesn't work the other way around. Those things don't necessarily indicate effective muscle building training. It's like if you put in a work session on your laptop and you genuinely are productive and you're producing high quality work, then your brain is naturally going to get tired from that. But on the other hand, Just because your brain is tired as a result of working, that doesn't necessarily mean that you were truly productive. Even doing a bunch of low productivity tasks combined with a bunch of distractions thrown in throughout, checking your phone, browsing random websites, taking a 40-minute break to order tacos and watch Pornhub, that will still make your brain very tired as well, even if the work session itself wasn't truly effective. So the main point here is to stop using systemic feel as your metric for muscle building success and stop thinking that overall fatigue equals muscle growth. That if you just push yourself and get in a good workout, that you're gonna make gains. That's not how it works. Gains are made by overloading the specific muscles that you're trying to target, and that means training those muscles sufficiently close to failure. Again, for most sets, about 1 to 2 reps in reserve is a good target. If you want to build muscle, that's what you're focused on. That's what triggers hypertrophic adaptations. You've got a solid program in place, you're lifting with proper form and technique, and you're overloading the muscle by taking your sets up into that close to failure zone on a consistent basis, and you're incrementally adding weight to the bar over time, okay? Progressively overloading. That's how you gain muscle as a natural lifter. Now, technically, if you always truly trained close to failure, then those muscle building adaptations would get triggered each time, and you just naturally get stronger from week to week and progress automatically. But I would still strongly recommend that you track your workouts on paper, since progress happens so incrementally, and a lot of times it's measured in terms of single rep increases from week to week. So you want to have those clear targets in place so that you know exactly what you did last time and what you need to do this time in order to improve. Just psychologically, having those objective goals in place is going to keep you on the most efficient path, and it will also clearly let you see anytime you've plateaued so that you can make the necessary adjustments to your program. And as far as an actual program is concerned, you can head over to seannall.com/custom. I'll put the link up here. Just fill the form out there and I'll send you back a free structured plan that you can follow as a starting point to maximize your results based on where you are now and what your specific goals are. And that includes not just a workout routine, but also a nutrition guide as well. As far as supplementation goes, make sure to check out realscienceathletics.com as well. This is my own line of fitness supplements created from scratch based on the exact formulas that I wanted to use, but just couldn't find from any other brands. Everything is research backed, fully dosed, transparently labeled, no bullshit, no gimmicks, okay, no BCAAs or test boosters here. These are the legitimate items that actually work and that have a real place in an effective muscle building and fat loss program. The link for that is also up here as well as down below. Here are 2 more videos I suggest watching now. If there's something specific you want to see me cover in a future video, then drop a comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe and press that notification bell to stay in the loop, and I will see you in the next video.